Hello. Where's my music at? Hello. 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 Hi. There's a lot of you guys here right now. The fuck? Hi. Hydrate. Oh, okay, fine. Bye. Ah. Thank you. Cute spotted. Leona was first. Nice. Naming. And Fudge. Hi, Fudge. Hi. Hi, Solaris. You got a smooch? Mwah. And then Rage. Hi, guys. Hi. 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 The DD5 music. DD5 music is actually great. Hi. Hi. I don't know what else to say. Just hi. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, in case you guys might hear my voice having a little bit of something in it. Sorry, I just like saying hi. I don't know how to start a stream, so I just like to say hi like a billion fucking times. So like, I don't know, that's like my thing now. I just say hi like a dozen times, 2 dozen, 3 dozen. I don't know how many times I said it there. But yeah, I'm feeling a little under today. Like I feel okay right now. But I definitely woke up feeling like, first of all, tired because I didn't really sleep well. For reasons, don't worry about it. Second of all, I just woke up and I just felt it was like something in my throat, you know? So I just didn't feel good. So I slept for most of the, not even sleep like most of the day. I was just in bed for most of the day. And right now I feel okay. Who knows how long this stream's gonna go? I'll probably just go until I feel too tired to go. And before you ask, no, I'm not always tired. I'm just, there's a lot of days I just don't sleep well right now. That's it. That's all it is. But today I have a legit reason because I feel like I'm getting sick. Anyway, how are you guys doing? How's your week been? Happy Wednesday. Is my model lagging today? I don't think it is. There might be like a little hiccup every now and then, but I think we're okay. Beh. Sorry, I love the Kokiri Forest music. I love all Zelda music, I'm not gonna lie. There's not like a single song in Zelda that I really dislike. Except for maybe the music of the Guardians in Breath of the Wild. That thing fucking terrifies me. Anytime you hear the little piano riff start, I'm like, who spotted me? Who spotted me? Who the fuck spotted me? Eh. But yeah, Tingle's theme. What is Tingle's theme? I don't. Is it from his video game? Because I don't remember that. The Malamar theme, banger. Well, you know what's funny? Every time I've ever played Twilight Princess, whether it's the original or the HD on Wii U, I never actually did the Malamar side quest because the first version I didn't know it existed. The second version I just never did it. Like that's it. Like I knew Malamar existed, I just never did the quest. To like you know, donate a bunch of fucking money and stuff. Never did it. That's it. Just never did it. Maybe if I ever play the game again, I'll actually do the Malamar stuff. Yeah, I mean Malamar theme's a banger. There's a reason it gets used in like every fucking gaming video ever for like silly times. Sorry, I'm trying to stretch and just keep myself like in the moment. Again today, where you guys might hear Iron Mouse singing because I'm still watching Cyclothon because it's just honestly I've gotten really into like IRL, not streams but like videos of just like people just out and about. Like I think some of my favorite videos one of my friends showed me a couple years ago were like silent videos, quote unquote, like no commentary videos of people just going through like random markets, whether it's in Japan or it's in, you know, any Asian country or an American country, things like that, you know, just like you're just walking around doing things, you know, sampling the local stuff, and that's it. And I think those videos are pretty nice. So like I've just been enjoying the Psychothon, so I've just been watching for the most part every time that I've been able to, besides the fact that it's obviously for a good cause. And did you guys fucking see like multiple people trying to spin the shit? Like, oh, these motherfuckers are fake as hell. I'm like, motherfucker. The Silent Street vendors, yeah, those are nice too. But also, you know what's funny? Something that happened to me this week. I got a quote-unquote copyright claim on the first stream that I did of Mario Galaxy. You wanna know who claimed it? Some motherfucking music group. So like I got hit with that, oh, this person used a sample of a Nintendo song, so now they're claiming anything that has the original in it. I got hit with that bullshit. Which, by the way, joke's on you, I'm not monetized, so I don't give a flying fuck. I'm still gonna appeal it because y'all deserve it, but you know, y'all ain't getting nothing out of it. But yeah, it's funny, honestly, that that's happening on YouTube, not on Twitch, obviously. What else happened this week? I got a lot of VTubing work done, like not by me, but like people that I was commissioning. So most of the things that I'm working on are actually done, by the way. It's kind of fucking crazy. So I just need to put it together and put it on stream, which is probably not gonna happen this week. Full disclosure, if I get sick, I'm just gonna be in bed. I'm not gonna do jack shit. But besides that, if I end up not being like terribly sick and stream this week, chances are tomorrow's the finale of Donkey Kong, so y'all better be there. But I don't know, I kinda just want to get to gaming. I want to play more Mario. Shut up, music. Now you better read the thing. Oh, you mean the art that I got? Let me be honest. There's a reason for that. And the answer to that is it was an accident. By that I mean I found somebody that got art done by this one specific person, right? For you, Leona. So I was like, oh, you know, I want to check them out because they're on Skeb. They're not I'm pretty sure they don't have normal like commissions. I think they just do Skebs. So I checked them out on Skeb and I'm like, oh, you know, it's pretty affordable. It's good. It's good. You know, it's good looking art. I want to get something done. Little did I know, because I just didn't know this word existed. Just full disclosure. The the artist's name is Mezugaki-chan, which if you know what Mezugakis are, oops. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. Don't Google it, please. Thank you very much. So I just commissioned them and I was like, hey, here's my VTuber. I like what you did with this one person, because you know they just have, you can link their own art to them. I'm like, hey, just, you know, do something similar, thank you. And sure enough, they gave me Bratty Ren. Lamau, yeah. Yeah. It's really funny. Like, it looks good, I don't mind it. I just think it's funny that it's like, motherfucker just drew me Bratty Ren. I don't know where I'm going, all I know is I'm over here somewhere. Oh, no, I did that stage already, right? Let's go back to the front. Yeah, so that was by accident, but I don't know, do you guys like it? It's really funny how actually cheeked up it is, by the way. Was the art you saw not like that? Nope, the art I saw was Gyaru, full chest and everything, not you know, that type of character. Mommy. Sorry, mommy. It's like the scene from the movie, guys. Spoilers, by the way. Let us begin. It's 1,000-year yearbook. Chapter 1, the Celestial Duo. I forgot there's like a full-on like chapter like this here. Our story begins a very, very long time ago with a young girl. One day, this girl spotted a restless spaceship holding a small star child. But yeah, long story short, the art that I saw was not that style. I commissioned them, said, hey, do something similar, thank you. They gave me, you know, a young schoolgirl Rin. Yeah, giving you the most cheeky motherfucking face ever. What's your name? Are you lost? The girl asked the star child. I'm Luma, and I'm waiting for Mama. She's coming for me on a comet, said the star child, who had been waiting day and night. Don't worry, I'll wait with you, the little girl promised Luma. That's a big-ass telescope. At nightfall, the little girl borrowed her father's telescope and peered into the sky. She looked and looked, but she saw nothing. Hours turned into days and then years, but still the sky revealed nothing. Also, by the way, how is the audio? Every single time, I'm not even kidding, every time I turn on my computer, the audio level for me is wildly different. So like, I'm sure I sound fine, but like every time I'm like, oh, the game sounds low, I sound loud. So like, I don't actually know how I sound, but it's exactly the same levels. Finally, the little girl sighed and said to Luma, if we stay here looking much longer, I'll be an old lady soon. But then she had an idea. Why don't we go out there and find your mother ourselves? That's really good art. The girl and Luma fixed up the rusty spaceship, and then the two set sail into the starry sky. Seems okay? Alright. And this is how the search for the Celestial Mother began. How is my capture card actually? I did lower that earlier, so do I have to raise that a little bit? I might have to. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's put it back to what it used to be. Chapter 2, Starbits. Days passed with no sight of the comet or even a single planet. Instead, asteroids extended for as far as the eye could see. Also, did you guys see when Artemis 2 landed? He was so cool. If I had known it was going to take this long, I would have packed more jam, said the little girl above the rumble of her belly. Also, you guys are getting your mommy reads you a bedtime story ASMR. Enjoy it while you can. Before they left, she had packed all the essentials: telescope, butterfly net, stuffed bunny, bread, milk, jam, and apricot flavored tea. But I forgot to bring water. At this, Luma burst into gales of laughter, and the girl began to pout. As long as I have starbits, I'll be fine, said Luma. Want some? The little girl couldn't stay mad after hearing this. Luma continued to laugh, and the girl couldn't help but join in. Alright, maybe just a nibble. Whoa! Leaning far out of the ship, the pair began to collect starbits with the girl's net. They almost fell out a few times, but they kept on collecting. The starbits tasted like honey. Ooh, those sound really nice. That should do it for today. I wish Mario would just like be asleep. Oh, she's gone. Can I just like reread it if I want to? Oh shit, I can't. Nope, get out of here. Also, they just... Is that the first time it's kept turning like that for you? No. It's not the first time it's turned out that way. Whereas then, like, I commissioned something and it's not that it's wildly different, but it's not exactly what I expected. But I think this is the biggest I died. I think this might be the biggest contrast from like what I saw and was trying to get and what I got. Because I get, like, you know, that's obviously just what they do, right? Because I like, if after I looked at what they actually, like, a lot of what they do, that's just what they do. So that's honestly kind of my fault, but like, again, I like the art. It looks good. It's not just like, it's not like how some people are like, oh, I told them I told them to draw this character. I told them to draw my character, whatever, my OC, my favorite waifu from an anime. Instead, they gave me Miku or something. I don't know, some random blonde girl. Like, I've never gotten that as much as people like say that it happens. Was it just a didn't read the fine print? No. A lot of scab is just you tell them what you'd like, and it's up to them to interpret it if they want. That's just how scab works. Not in like a bad way. Like, that's the model. It's relatively more affordable for the with the quote unquote downside of you might just not get you just might not get exactly what you asked for. Slap a halo on her past off as an abyss student for Blue Archive. I know nothing about Blue Archive, so okay, maybe I'll look it up. Is Blue Archive the one that has like a lot of young girl characters? Because I know one of the gachas has a lot of like that type. Kind of like a YC, kind of like that. It's kind of like if you go to like VGen, right? If you're talking about like VTuber art, if you just go to a surprise me, that's pretty much what it is. What's the mission called? Sunken Treasure. Young characters with guns, that's what it is. Yeah. So like it's kind of just like you are gonna ask for something, and if they give it to you, great. If not, you really don't have grounds to complain, because by using the service you are agreeing that you are going to, you know, that you're agreeing to their rules of like, hey, the artist can take what you want and say fuck you. But for the most part, artists don't do that, at least in my experience. Is this not supposed to speed you or like take your arrow away? I remember this being like a thing, and like it takes your arrow away. Is Blue Archive a good game? Like, I'm not trying to get into new gachas, but like, is it a good game? Where am I going? But there's a lot of those like, there's a lot of those gachas that like people try to get me into. I don't have time for some of them. Whoa. How the hell do you do this? Mostly about story and characters. I think that's cool. A lot of story to go through. I don't mind that. Like, I don't mind story-driven games. I personally don't have the time for all of these like good gachas that are out there, you know? If that makes sense. Oh god. Like, people are trying to get me into ZZZ. I don't have time. People are gonna get me into Honkai Star Rail. Also don't have time. What else is there? Snowbreak, which is like, I think the one that I've seen that's like the most Gooner-like, if that makes sense. Like, that one and Azure Lane are like two of the ones that I've noticed that when people post clips, like, it's very Gooner-like, as in like it's very much horny bait for people. Whoa. Even though you could argue a lot of modern gachas have a similar thing where they're just trying to sell you sex and that's it. I use the term play very loosely. That's how I feel about Brown Dust, because I played Brown Dust for like a week or two, because like obviously I got hooked on the on the animations that like people were posting, and like the fact that it had at the time it was it Mushoku Tensei collab, so like I got in at that point, and like even now I don't really play it that much. I log in every now and then. Where's the last one? It's probably here, actually. Nick is probably the most Gooner bait. I would respectfully disagree. I think out of all the ones that I've seen, like recently, I think Nikki's the least Gooner bait. And yes, I understand that in Nikke you canonically fuck your characters. Does not mean it's Gooner bait because they don't show anything. The gameplay's 90% ass. Listen, I'm not talking like. Listen, you don't need to be upset that the gameplay sucks, okay? Sorry, that was that was me playing on the word ass, okay? Honestly, I think out of all the gacha games that are out there, right? I do think, honestly, from what I've seen of gameplay, I think Nikke is the one with the worst gameplay, personally. But, you know, that's just me. Leave that thing full out. I'm sure most people do, which you can probably do up to a certain point, right? Because I know there's like end game stuff that you can do, which probably require you to at least some kind of pay attention. Good writing, I'm sure. People have said that Nikke is like one of the few gacha games that's actually actively made people cry. More. Transform. But I kind of wanted to check out Snowbreak just to see what the gameplay is actually like, because like everything I've ever seen of Snowbreak is just like the character interactions, which are just, you know, they're good, but like good lord, like we're getting to the point where all these different games are quite literally like playing hentai roulette, not hentai roulette, hentai chicken. You know, as close as they can to showing actual hole and, you know, peener without getting their age rating increased to the point where he gets kicked out of like the Play Store, the App Store. I missed. What else? What else? I think I'm doing the right thing, right? Missile Mag! Anyway, is there any video game you guys want? You guys think you'd want to watch me play? Not gacha, just in general. What are these treasure chests? Yeah, it's a life. Ow! How did I take damage there? Get away! Get away! Get away! Wait, these are wait no these are bullet bills, not missile megs. And die. Oh, that one's a homing one. Me. I'm trying to think. Honestly, I'm kind of getting like brain fog right now because I do feel a little under. I think I know what I'm gonna play after Donkey Kong, speaking of, because I think we're gonna finish that tomorrow. Unless I end up getting sick and I have to cancel. But I'm pretty sure we're actually gonna finish up Donkey Kong tomorrow. And I actually have an idea for what I want to play next, and it's not like a long game. It's gonna be like a one day thing only. It's probably a game I don't think anybody's ever heard about, I'm not gonna lie. And by never heard about, I mean legitimately never heard about. Not just like, oh, what's an obscure game? Probably somebody's heard of it somewhere. Like, nah, I am like 90% sure nobody's heard of the game that I want to play. I might not even be able to find it online to play it. Passing the swimming test swimmingly. Bah, my nose is so itchy. Not like allergies or being sick thing, it's just itchy. Any hints? It's a sports game. Sorry. Let me clarify. It's an extreme sports game. The reason why I have to clarify is because if I say sports game, it's like, oh, you know, you think of hockey, you think of, you know, basketball, football, soccer. If I say extreme sports, you should be thinking, you should be thinking X Games style, so like skateboarding, inline skates, BMX. Things like that is what I'm trying to get you guys into by saying extreme sports rather than sports. Hello. Yeah, so it's not NFL Blitz. Swimming test, sure. Collect shells in the ocean, bring me the gold shell, automatic A. I've done this mission. Wait, I've never played this game, but I've done this mission before. Do they reuse this stage in Mario Galaxy 2? Or have I just seen it? Maybe I've just seen it in like a fucking Game Grumps video or something. Extremely goofy adventure? Nope. If anybody gets it right, I don't know. Gift you a tier 3 sub, I don't know. Just love all those from the... Does it actually? Yeah, it's like I feel like I don't know if it's this exact stage, but I've done this mission of like get the gold shell. I actually didn't know Galaxy 2 uses a lot of old stages. I figured it uses like old probably old characters and old missions maybe. I don't know if it uses full-on galaxies. Like I've seen like bosses from this game reused in Galaxy 2 and like a bonus boss rush thing or something, you know? What are you asking? What about Fudge? Your extremely goofy adventure is not correct. I'm sorry. Burger King Pocket Rice Racer? Pocket Bike Racer, sorry. No. No, it is not. I don't know what the question is. Oh no, I asked if because I was doing this and find the gold shell mission, and I was like, wait, I've done this when I played Galaxy 2, because I've never played Galaxy 1. I don't even own it. I own Galaxy 2 still. And I was asking, does Galaxy 2 reuse either this whole galaxy or just at least that mission? No, it absolutely uses this entire galaxy. Wait, no. It just... That stage is a separate stage in Galaxy 2. The gift sub question. Oh, if you guys get the game that I'm thinking of playing next week if we finish Donkey Kong this week. Is it one of the SSX Trickies? Nope, those games were fairly popular at the time, so I do not think it would be that one. Where the fuck am I going? Oh, it's the secret camera. Right. I remember now. It's extreme sports related? Yes. It is related to the sports that are not considered traditional sports. Or rather, I should say traditional team sports. Jet Set Grand Radio? Nope, that game is insanely popular. That would not be it. Leona? What the fuck? Leona, thanks for the gift sub to Diari. You enjoy the emotes. BMX Triple X? I don't think I can play that on stream. I've heard of that game, never played it, but I don't think I can play that on stream. Gotta keep my one gift sub streak. Leona, you are going to end up with 365 gift subs by the end of the year if you keep up at least one sub a day. Yeah, this stage, they reused this stage in Galaxy 2, like just this section of it. To the fact where I know how to beat it. As in, like, beat it quick, I mean. They use this stage, I think they use it as a silver coin mission, and then they reuse it again as a speed run? No, not a speed run mission, a double time mission. I remember this. It should be safe. Hello? Who's at the door? Oh yeah, Leona, thank you so much for the gift sub again. Why is it so big? What, this stage? I don't know. Or are you talking about my titties? Because, I mean, who doesn't like big titties? Oh, the alert? Did something pop up? Nothing should pop up on non-visual alerts. The Koto police are at your door. Oh no! Stay away. There's a secret one in here. My old's orb. You got an ad about fat bazongs in your area. Ooh, hidden star here? Sound does pop up, took like 70% of the screen. Let me test this out again. Give me a second. Well, most of my sound alerts are pretty big. Giggity. Let me play this sound effect again to see what happened. Oh, Jesus, what the fuck? Why did that get reset? What the fuck? Let me fix that. Like, actually fix that. Fuck. Because none of those should have any pop-up if it doesn't have, like, a video attached to it. Okay. Just got reset for some reason. What the fuck? Let's test this out again. Sorry for the third one. Okay, we're good. Yeah, for some reason, like the default, just play the text, was set. I turned all that off, so if it doesn't have a video, it shouldn't play anything. There we go, we're good. Also, I saw something on Iron Mouse's stream the other day that I want to copy, like just flat out, because it's a really good idea. She has the words BLT show a picture of one of her models' bazongas, and I just think it's funny to think about, because you know BLT is big Latina titties. And I'm like, God, that's fucking genius. I need to borrow that. So I'm going to unashamedly borrow that in the future. I don't know when, but I want to do it. I don't know where I'm going, by the way, for this. Can I kill the eels over here? Is that what's going on? No, that's not it. Yeah, maybe it is. Hang on. Maybe it is. Oh shit, it might be. Thank you for letting me know, by the way, that was happening, because I don't really pay attention to like my stream screen to see what's going on when like things pop up and all that. I take a look every now and then to make sure my model's actually working. Looks like I could break that, but I guess I can't. Hi Pecunia, welcome in. How you doing? Yeah, appreciate all you guys for helping me out when things that are happening shouldn't happen. What am I trying to do here? I'm curious. Is there a Hungry Luma here, maybe? I'm gonna kill this thing because this thing might be something. It is not. I figured I'd check. Let me in. Let me in that hole. Remember guys, every hole is a goal. Think your model is broken, you make it bounce a little. Hang on. I got you. Still broken. All good, thank you. Appreciate it. Looks right, thank you. What was I gonna say? It is actually important you guys let me know that, because I remember last Friday you guys did say my model was lagging a little bit. So if you guys did see a little lag there, I would hope you tell me. Where could this be? Let's go in here. Shouldn't be anything here, but I will double check. Fuck. I keep falling. I hate the little like water texture or effect here. Multiple consoles, or is it exclusive? Oh shit, that actually, I don't know, I'm not gonna lie. I think it's on multiple consoles, but again, it's so niche that I don't actually remember. I had it on Sony PlayStation, but it could very well be on multiple consoles. You're paying close attention, thank you. What am I looking for, actually? Are you still trying? Oh, wait, maybe here? It could be exclusive, but I just don't know. If you want me to Google to like give you a guaranteed answer, sure. I think it's on multiple consoles. Which, by the way, this isn't. I will tell you this: this is an old game that Xbox didn't exist before when it came out. It was still the big three of Sony, Sega, and Nintendo. Actually, that might not be true, but I'm pretty sure it is. Oh my god, is this actually what it was? Oh my god, I'm right. I got it. I found it. I'm a genius. I love this song. It's a cataquack. Come on the wheel, and then I come on the dash, and then I come on the floor, and then I'm done. And I'm done. I thought that gave me extra height. Sorry, again, anytime I hear the Super Mario Bros. 3 Athletic, that's all I think about. I say Extreme Sports for the GBC because they made the same artist for Shantae. Ooh, it could be. It's not. Oh wait, I had to do this. Nice. Yo. I somehow remember this power up too, even though I don't think it exists in Mario Galaxy 2. Oh, I have to drag him along with me, that's what I gotta do. How the fuck am I supposed to do this? It's kind of hard. Oh, wait, no, the things last a while, actually. Oh, that's what's going on. This thing's breaking him. But it itself lasts a decent amount of time. Hurry. No, he's gonna die. Where am I going? Where the fuck? Where the fuck? There you are. Oh, he just fucking died. I don't know what happened, but he exploded. That was easy. I just have to ignore the other platform. Got the secret star. Give me a second. Let me Google the game I'm looking at. I was thinking of playing. See what it's on. It released. Oh, it's not. It actually is exclusive. Sorry about that. I gave you misinformation. It is actually Sony exclusive. The reason I know that, it was developed by Sony Entertainment. Ooh, fastball comment. Ooh. Chat, if you're paying attention, I just want to tell you, I'm getting works in progress of my new outfit. You guys are not ready for it, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, so this is the mission that I remember in Super Mario Galaxy 2, because everything's just double speed. But I remember the mission was called whatever Galaxy Double Time, because that's just what they called it in Galaxy 2. Instead of Fast Foes, they called it Double Time. Another new outfit? You mean my first new outfit since getting my new model? My new model had 2 outfits to begin with, because it's just my OG plus a new outfit that I wanted. My gallons are in danger. Let me just say you absolutely need to, fuck is going on with my capture card? Guys, am I lagging or is it my capture card? I think it's the capture card, hang on. Hang on. Turn it off. Turn it back on. But yes, I think it's a card, yeah. Because I can hear the audio stuttering, but in my head I'm like, it might be me in general. That's why I asked you guys, because you guys obviously see the video completely unfettered. Oh my god, it is my capture card. I might need to disconnect it and reconnect it potentially. Like physically, not just like turn it off and on. Alright, we're gonna do that. Because this is... It's dying! My thing is dying! Okay, let's test this out now. Surprisingly, it looked like it may have worked. Nope, maybe not. Maybe this thing might actually be on its way out, because I've been using this for like 3 years and it's working pretty well. But yeah, going back to the outfit thing, yes, I do think legitimately, like, even though you're joking about are my gallons in danger, yes, like, unironically, yes, I think they are in danger. You may VO maybe? VO? You may VO? I don't know. I don't know. Let me know how to pronounce your name. Yume's here to eat your dreams. Eat my dreams, but I like my dreams. Hi, Yume. Welcome in. Welcome in, you and your community raiders. Welcome in. How you guys doing? My name is Rinkumori. I'm a dragon VTuber. Let me make sure you guys know I'm a dragon because I have wings. Oh, it is Vour. Okay. I was gonna say, is it like Devour? Are you a Vor VTuber? Are you into Vor? Or just or just the Devourer of Dreams thing that you're going for. I am not. That's fine. Listen, going full caps is absolutely the proper response when someone asks you if you're into Vor. Anyway, let me give you a follow. Let me give you shout outs. How are you doing? How was your stream? welcome in. Ooh, you were also playing Super Mario Galaxy? Oh my god, Dream Eater Demon. Yeah, that's what I figured. But listen, I have to ask when someone has the word like Vower or anything like that in their name. I'm like, are you in Devour? But welcome in. My name is Ray Kumori. I'm a Dragon VT where I play a lot of retro games. A lot of cozy vibes here. Surprisingly, I've never played this game before. I've played Super Mario Galaxy 2. Like, I'm not even kidding you guys. I've played Super Mario Galaxy 2 2 times over at 100%. I guess 200% if you want to count the green stars. But I've never touched this game, so I'm playing it now on the HD re-release. Come here, Torpedo Tad. Used to be Yume Vor, but people kept calling me Yume or Yume Vower. I got you. That's actually a pretty cute name though. I like it. I will take a look at your model after stream, just because honestly I like stalking people a little bit. Like, forgive me. You've never played any of the Galaxy games? Listen, the Galaxy games are peak, and also if you didn't know, they based this game off a movie. Like, have you seen the movie? It was in HD before. It was 480p on the Wii. So no, not HD at all. Yeah, have you seen? Ow, have you seen the movie? Ow. Has anybody seen the movie besides me? Like, does anybody care? Fix up the green star. What the fuck? Not seen the movie. You want to play the game? That's cool. You saw the movie? Yeah. You listen. Welcome in. I liked the movie too. People didn't like it for various reasons. I did. I think it was a fun movie that people are being way too critical about. And if you haven't seen the movie, I 100% implore you, please go watch the movie. Support your local theaters, if anything. Why is this not firing? Is it because I'm too far away? Or hasn't heard anybody complain IRL yet? I have not heard anybody complain IRL yet at all. But at the same time, I haven't heard anybody actually fucking watch it. IRL, like people IRL, like I have a lot of people that are like parents. They're like at my job, and they're like, "Oh, did you like it? Should I go watch it?" I'm like, honestly, if you're a fan of the first one, shit, go for it. Like, you know, yeah, they changed different for the movie from the game. Things were expanded for media. Yeah. I think what's happening, and people don't understand this, is I definitely think Nintendo is trying to make their movies like basically separate lore from the video games. So like you'll see references to things, right? Oh god. And be like, oh, this is that reference, this is that, this is that. But like for the most part, it feels like they're actually trying to keep things like completely separate. Like literally the Nintendo Cinematic Universe, I feel like they're trying to just change, or not change, but have like be a separate entity to the video gaming but thing. What Mario lore is there? I mean, you'd be surprised. Also, thanks Yume for the follow. I'll check out your stream a little later, okay? But I do want to say before it gets too deep into the Mario talk, I understand if you got a raid and run. Those of you that were watching, you may as well, please. I am here if you guys would like to stay and relax. If not, go ahead and get some water, relax. You know, I'll catch you guys later. Thank you for the raid again. And whoever sticks around, I don't know, we can talk more about the Mario movie if you've watched it. If not, I don't know, what's your favorite thing about dragons? Or what's your favorite mythical creature if it's not a dragon? But if you want to know Mario lore, specifically Mario Galaxy lore, there's a lot. Got another good jealous condition? Yeah, thank you. I will be here. I am feeling a little under the weather, so there's a chance this stream just stops randomly, depending on how I feel going in. Two big things I like about dragons. Yeah, also you were like, you raided into me talking about I have a new outfit coming soon, TM, and I literally said, hey, chat's not ready. And they were like, my gallons are at risk, and I'm like, yes they are. Yep, that is coming soon. I don't know when, but the answer is soon. So So that was kind of an if you were like I think 10 seconds quicker on the raid, that would have been like the most awkward time to jump in. I think I need one of these guys, right? Because how do I break that thing otherwise? Got it, perfect. Whee! Tomorrow? Not tomorrow. Listen, I at least want to get some new things for the stream, not just the model. But, what else? Anyway, you were talking about Mario lore. If you want to ask about Mario Galaxy lore, there's a lot. Remember, Rosalina in this has her book, and that tells you a lot of lore about her. The movie is not faithful to the book in this video game. Green power. Starter stars have a special power. That's the green Lumas about them. Okay. So like a bunch of people were complaining that like they essentially changed Rosalina's lore in the movie. Because it was like, oh, they went against this, they went against that. And it's like, bruh, shut the fuck up. You need power of 2 other like you. Okay. Dragon Radio VTuber, maybe. Leona, are you driving? Are you listening to me on the radio? How does Mario breathe in space? You know what's funny? They never even answer that in the movie. That is, I will give you that spoiler. After I got you in the car radio, okay. I will try not to say weird, lewd things. I don't know. The answer is it's a video games. Just don't ask. But yeah, like they don't even answer that question in all the loot. Exactly, like the word, just the word lewd. Porn. The floating foot twists. Where the fuck am I going, by the way? I need to look at this. Oh, I'm going up, not down. I'm an idiot. Why does this sound like the beginning of Celeste's, like climb? Like chapter 7 climb? Teaser? Tell you what. Not today, but I will give you guys a challenge to do. And if you guys do it, I will give you guys a teaser. As for what that challenge will be, don't ask. I can't think of it yet. Oh, I see what I gotta do. Ads! I noticed that. I'm like, oh, we gotta do that. But yes, if you guys want a teaser, I can give you guys a teaser, just not right now, because I don't have a picture or anything ready. And if I gave you guys a teaser, I would literally just expose the entire model to you guys, because that's the only thing I have. What is this guy's name? Because he's cute. Did you guys know people have realized that there's 2 different thwomps? Don't expose myself. I try not to. I expose myself every day on Twitter. I don't want to do it on Twitch. What does that do? Oh, it made it move. What does this do? Oh. Hey, you guys, did you know in terms of male, human, and female Pokemon breeding? I'm not wearing my Lopunny outfit, so you can't make the Lopunny joke here. join the server? Yeah, feel free to join my Discord server. I post a lot in there, and I have tried to post a lot more for you guys as well. Or with you guys, should I say. It was a Vaporeon joke? Yeah, no. But the only Pokemon I have is, like, Pokemon thing I have with me is the one that I'm dressed as a Lopunny. But you know what's funny? I don't even need the Polestar. I can just do this. Oh, I kind of need it. I realize what it's for. It's not for that. It's for these. No. Wahoo! I fucking love Mario's Wahoos. It's a Pokeball! Look at it, it's a fucking Pokeball! It's specifically a Legends Arceus Pokeball. Because it's old school. Gonna go make curry. Have you ever seen? Okay, you may enjoy the rest of your night. I will be here if you want to come back, but otherwise, thank you again for the raid. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. Should have had an option to make him sound like Chris Pratt. That would have been funny. Also, apparently, people that watch the Spanish, I don't know if it's Mexican Spanish or Spanish, but the Spanish rendition, I'm not sure if there's two of them or just one, the voice actor who plays Mario actually gives him that little bit of a wahoo yippee voice. And people are like, oh, this is what Chris Pratt should have sounded like, and I'm like, I don't know if I would have liked to listen to a character always sound like Mario while they're trying to talk. Like, while I do agree Chris Pratt should have tried a little bit more of a Mario voice, I don't think I'd want to hear Mario talk for 2 fucking hours straight. Personally, at least. Oh, this is the inflation mission. I've seen this stage. Oh, it's not inflation, it's a bubble. Never mind. Never mind, we're good. 400 brothers, let yours truly fill board. Bend your ear for a second. You can move around your bubble by holding down blow, but do it while your blow is blowing on the bubble. By the way, when you're playing in Hand Helmet, don't forget you can blow air by tapping. If you go too far on one side, use blow to blow on the other side. Blow me. This is the blow job stage. Oh god, this is not centered. Oh my god, this is, I just realized how much of a pain in the ass this actually is to control. Oh, I can't control it very well. Chill, 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 chill. Chill, 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 chill. Chill, chill, chill. Everybody just take a chill pill. This is not worth the coins. I'm glad the bubbles don't pop just by touching a wall, by the way. Where's the thing at? Like, it went through here. Also, by the way, controlling this with motion sucks ass. Like, legitimately sucks ass. Italy Pragmata? What's Pragmata? Again, that name sounds familiar. Hacking that game. Oh, that game! Yeah, I was like, that game sounds familiar. Maybe. It's a is it a horror game, right? I'm not too big on horror, but it does look interesting. Is it a horror game or is it not actually classified as horror? Alright, it's not classified as horror. Maybe I'll give it a shot. Action sci-fi is what's classified. Okay. Maybe I'll give it a shot. I don't know. Depends when it comes out and what I'm doing at the time. Like Nier. Okay. It did give slightly horror vibes though to me. That's why I was like, is it a horror game? But maybe not. I was curious about it though. It looked cool. Go! Oh my god, that is so many. Oh god, we're not done. Oh lord, we're not done. What do you got, Philboard? I gotta tell you something. If you're in a bubble and want to get back to the surface, just press ZL to get down. Oh yeah, and if you get pinched between moving obstacles, that big bubble's gonna burst, so watch out. Alright, blowjob number 2. This is not the way to go. Oh, wait. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I want this. Go! He's not centered anymore. It's not centered. I hate this. Your body is a meat machine. What? What? I'm confused. The only meme that starts with that I know of is my body is a machine that turns dicks into soft dicks or something like that. East path for experts only, south shortcut. Okay, experts only it is. I'm kidding. I'm gonna take the bitch path. I'm kidding. Nope. We don't bitch out here on this stream. Except Organization 13. Fuck those guys. Oh yeah, do people want to give up on the game that I was thinking of playing, by the way? I can tell you guys the game. It's not a very good game again, it's just there, it exists. I will tell you guys this, it is not gonna be a game like Donkey Kong 64 where it could be like, wow, this game's actually pretty good. It is 100% not gonna be like that, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Are we done? Oh no, we have this whole galaxy to go through. Ghostly galaxy. Started getting PS2 so you never get it. Fair enough. At least you understand your limits. If I tell you guys what the game's about, like a quick synopsis of what it is, you'll get it real fast. Luigi and the Haunted Mansion! Look, it's Luigi's mansion! Luigi!
Yes.
Ah, you bitch. Mario. Mario? 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 And then when he's dying, he goes, Mario! Like if you do it when he's low on life. Whoa, it's like the corridor in Ocarina of Time. Only real ones will know what I'm talking about. Whoa. Crazy how they did it on the N64. It is actually crazy. There's like a video on how it's done. I've never looked at it, but it's kind of crazy that they legitimately just made a corridor that like does that effect, even though, you know, all it really does is change how change what the orientation of the next stage is during loading, or the next room is during loading. But it is still crazy to think about how like they legitimately did that on the N64, when like Super Mario Galaxy, like this effect didn't happen till the Wii. Nice key. Anyway, I think it's been long enough that you guys are probably not gonna keep looking and find the game that I'm talking about. The game I'm talking about, created by Sony Entertainment Interactive. By the way, it was also made in conjunction with ESPN. At least the first game in this series was. The second game was not. The game is called 2 Extreme. Did you have two? Yeah, I think it's just two stages, and it just depends on what the switch state is at, the iSwitch. Damn it, what about it? Steve Johns, still gotta play Luigi's Mansion 3. I never finished it. I should get back to it, but at the same time, I don't know. It didn't hook me the way I felt like it would. You were close for your next guy. What was your next guy's gonna be? If he said it's gonna be close. Re-Extreme? That's the sequel. That's the third game in the trilogy. I never played 3 Extreme. I only ever played 2 Extreme out of the trio of games. I didn't even know that originally the series was made in collaboration with ESPN. Of all fucking places, what the fuck? But yeah, I think I'm thinking about playing that just because it's not a good game. I remember having fun with it, but it's probably good for maybe not even a stream, maybe just like an hour. So maybe that's the day where I'll play like a bunch of like those little games where realistically you'll see me play them like once ever, just to like know that they exist, and then I played them as a kid, and that's about it. Mario. Brother! Mario! How do I get this key? I get how. That is actually surprisingly difficult for a child. How are they supposed to get that? This is written in Booish. Okay. Oh, I know why. The Boo Mushroom! The mushroom was real! Alright, what does this say? When in Boo form, Mario's a freak. He is a certified freak. How did that miss me? Oh, I see what I gotta do, Do this. Let the light kill me, technically. Hi. Bro, you finally came. I got lost with the toes. It was terrible. But I found a power star, so that makes up for it, right? Thanks, brother. But yeah, so Larcy, you gotta finish Luigi's Mansion 3. I've heard it's good. I don't know why it didn't hook me. Maybe it's just because it was a little too slow for me. Luigi? Are they gonna be with the now you can play as Luigi?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, are they? Welcome back.
Look.
You can see your brother from here. If you ask him, I better help you search for power stars. And I'm sure he has a lot to tell you. You should go speak to him over by the garage. By the garage. Wahoo! What's up, Luigi? You're looking for power stars, right? Let me help. You might have missed one in the Good Galaxy. Really? If I find it, alright, you better keep your eyes peeled for it. I gotta go back to the Good Galaxy then, which was... Was this the first one? Was it a comet? What the fuck? I just missed one? It's not a comet because I already have the comet for this. I'm assuming I can't do this yet, I'm not gonna lie. Because I would have seen it by now. Whee! Did you guys know that as of like 5 days ago, it's been exactly 4 years since Kingdom Hearts 4 was announced? Not just teased, announced. Yeah, I don't think I can do this yet. Making sure there's nothing else in there. No, 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 no. You know, every time I'm in the air, I want to do the ground pound, the ground pound dive, like in Mario Odyssey. Meh. I'll be honest, after playing this game for, you know, the couple hours that I have, I actually kind of like how Super Mario Galaxy 2 does their overworld better, because instead of having to find the, you know, the observatory or the library or the fucking the God, what's it called? I don't know, the telescope place. It's just a fucking Mario overworld that you just go through. I'm like, that's a lot better to me. It's less annoying. It's just worlds 1 through 8, unlike this, where it's kind of the same thing, but just in a more annoying way. That's not what I wanted. Whee! Give me the starbits! Give me the starbits! Oh, the starbits! Yo, it's cool, boo. So you're after it too? The clown? No, I'm not. Well, you have to race me for it. Okay. I do not want to go against it, the clown. Here we go. Which way am I going? This way. Can't see. Don't fall. This song's weird because it's like off tempo from what it normally is. Shit. Don't hit, don't get. Oh god, he's catching up. Go, 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 go. I did not know that was the goal, but I assumed it was. 103.71, huh? Well, no, I promised. Here, take this blade. We did it! There's another similar stage like this in Mario Galaxy 2. Stretch? Oh my god, I should.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, thank you, Rage. Oh, genuinely, like, feeling tired. I don't know how much longer than 2 hours I'll be live tonight. Just, the brain fog is there. Bro, I got a star, but now I can't get back. This video shows where I am. Help me! What? I know where that is, but what scenario is that in? Does it matter what scenario it's in, actually? Because again, it's just on top of Yoshi's house. Is there something in Yoshi? Hang on, is it just that it doesn't exist until Luigi tells you it exists? Is that what's going on, actually? I think that's what it is, motherfucker. It just doesn't exist until Luigi tells you. That's some bullshit. Wait for me, I'm Super fucking Mario. I can't do my panda triple jump, but let's do it. There we go. Hello. Came to save me again. I knew I could count on you. I'm the power star. Yeah, I got it right. Oh yeah, he just gives you a star. That's fun. It's a me, Luigi. I like how he just says that.
Oh, yeah.
Luigi on the roof. Fiddler on the roof. Joe Mama on the roof. I miss when Joe Mama jokes was like the thing. Because they felt, I don't know, they felt very what's the word? Creative. At least to me, they felt pretty creative. Obviously, some of them are probably pretty mean, but some of them were really funny. Stretch. Alright, Yoda, thank you for checking in. Oh, that was my shoulder if you heard a little pop. Boulder Geist, they reused this boss in Mario Galaxy 2 as well. Good luck with you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good luck with work for you. Ugh.
Yes.
Boulder Geist, I think, was part of a boss rush stage, if I remember.
Yeah. Whee!
Go, 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 go. They fixed. Listen, this is exactly like the Ocarina of Time corridor, because now it's fixed. It's not crooked. So now we're going down a different path. Also, I wish they would bring back different colored boos for different like scenarios. Because I know this is a bomb, like a bomb boo. Also, the fact that it giggles differently too. Like it doesn't have the typical boo like giggle. Like you know the giggle I mean. What up? Shake blood or spin boom bomboos. When they hit something, they go boom. Since it's going to the village from Animal Crossing, a little bit, huh? Yeah. To me, it actually kind of sounds like instead of like a boo, it sounds like a child giggle, like a creepy child giggle. Oh, how'd he hit me? Fuck are you? Oh, double tap. I'm a lot closer than I think I am. That's what's going on. Oh no! Oh, ad break. Fuck you. Oh. Bomboos. I missed. Oh my god, thank god. Whee! Now where do I go? This way. Let me in. Let me in. I guess I'll just go with the rotation of this thing. There we go. Let me in! What the fuck? The fuck am I looking for? Oh, there it is. Also, I really like a lot of like the spooky stages in Mario games because like the little violin that they introduce is so good. Motherfuckers trying to sell me things. Fuck you. I don't need it for this boss. I know how to beat him without taking damage because that's literally a mission in Super Mario Galaxy 2. You know, another thing I miss, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way about Mario games, when they had unique bosses and it wasn't just all Bowser Jr. or Bowser. Hit him in the uvula! God, that still reminds me of what's the movie called, Monster House, where literally in the trailers they're like, oh, that's his uvula, so it's a girl house. It's such a stupid fucking joke, but it made me giggle every time. Double tap. That, yeah, it's a really silly thing, but like it's actually a thing that they said. Is that it? Was that 2 hits? I think it's called Monster House, that movie, right? This boss was not hard at all, especially considering, again, I've done this boss without taking damage, because it's a comet medal in Super Mario Galaxy 2. Hell, it's 3 bosses without taking damage, and one of them is this guy. The one with the house 8 people? I think so, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hang on. I never watched Monster House, I'm not gonna lie. I just saw trailers. So I don't know if it eats people. I don't know. Maybe it does? I'm assuming it does, because they kept... Ooh. Here's what I'm talking about, by the way, by the Daredevil. I'm assuming it's gonna say Bouldergeist, Boulder Heist No Hin or whatever. Yep. Bouldergeist and Daredevil. This is exactly a mission they do in Super Mario Galaxy 2. There's a chance it spawns me literally at the boss too. I don't have to do the rest of the stage. Small chance, but there is a chance. Yep. Again. I know, I remember this. Here's a free ass star for me. But I'm also not gonna get cocky because, you know, I am one hit. Being one hit is always more scary than knowing you have a little bit of a buffer. Even if you know you won't get hit, like there's always the risk that you do. Oh god, he almost hit me. He actually almost hit me then. Shit. Get him. Now he gains hands. Just like every Nintendo boss. Floating hands. Oh. Yeah, I was like, I'm not gonna be able to double tap it here. Also, what is this thing made of? Like souls? Nightmares? Oh my god. that first one actually saved me, I'm not gonna lie. I think I might have got hit there. Also, I love the effect on this. Like, it's just a texture, but because of the camera moving, it's like dynamic. And it's over. Reminds me of, oh god, is it Malzahar, the League of Legends character, which has the exact same thing. Like, he just has a constant texture around him, and his spells just like spawn the textures essentially. Oh, it's pretty interesting. Oh, I just realized I'm officially, as of last star, not this star, 1/3 of the way done. There's a star missing? Where is it? Where is it? Where's the star? Show me the star. Oh, it's in the, wait, what? It's here. Oh, is there a time limit? Is that what's happening? Like, do I have to beat a certain time? Is that what's going on? I'm gonna keep looking. I'll look around. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not even a part of the sprint, but I see something. Oh god, it's this stage. Actually, I don't know this stage. This stage in Super Mario Galaxy 2 is a Yoshi stage. Because of course it would be. Boo, boo, boo. I like these gimmicks where like the floor just appears. Go, 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 go. It's the piano. It's the piano. Fake. 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 All of this is fake, huh? Besides the star itself. Oh, I fucking fell through it because it wasn't spawned yet. Oh, Mario! Mario! Mario, Mario, please, 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 please. Oh my god. What?
Oh, yeah.
Matter Splatter Mansion, is that what that was called? That's pretty good. It's a pretty cool name, honestly. Is that it? That's it. So now we go to Bowser. Bowser Jr.'s Airship Armada. Sinking the airships. God, every time I see this, like these stages, I'm just like, man, where's Yoshi? Because Yoshi's not even in this game. Which, if you guys didn't know why Yochi's not in this game, but it is in the second one, I believe was it Miyamoto? But whoever produced this, like, literally said that they wanted the gimmick of the gravity to shine in the game, so they didn't have Yoshi in the first one, but only in the second one. Please let me fall, for fuck's sake, thank you. These later enemies honestly are fucking terrifying. Oh god. Captain Toad. What do you got to tell me, Captain Toad? You finally made it. I was starting to worry. Oh no! Why did you fucking bust out the Marge voice? I go, oh no. We're okay. It's Bowser Jr. It's the guy that's here to save his father. In the movie, that is. You just don't give up. Fine then, I guess I'll just whoop you myself. You want this crash star so bad, you gotta take it from me. I'm a little fucking baby. Nope. I couldn't throw that while I was running, which is weird. Fuck you. Ow. Any coins? Thank you. Oh, can't see. It's not over yet. Yeah, he's facing me. How are these all missing, by the way? My angle's just way off. That's what's going on. There we go. How did that one miss? No, my Koopa! Holy fuck! It's a fucking clusterfuck. And it's over. And he's out. Bye. Loser. A loser. A loser. I was gonna say clusterfuck. It's actually a clusterfuck. We did it. Nah, they were firing literally everything at me besides the kitchen sink. Ba-da-ba. More power. The fortune teller's house was open, I guess. I don't know. We're gonna get our fortune read. Have you guys ever had like your fortune read? Whether it be by like tarot cards or like fucking watching some mystic on the TV that like reads like your star signs or whatever. It's like, you're gonna do this. Thanks to you and your friends, all of the domes in the lower level are working again. Once the engine room on the upper level has power, the whole observatory will be working. Then the Comet Observatory will fly as a starship once again. And you will be able to fly to your special one in the center of the universe. Don't say special one, she's my girlfriend. Shit, I'm just kidding. It's Nintendo said they're friends. Just friends. Oh, Rosalina's bedroom. Brown chicken. Enemy base spotted. We're detecting massive energy spikes. What are they doing? What are those? I could literally just finish this entire stage if I wanted to right away. Honey Climb Galaxy. Ooh, I get to ride the honey somewhere. Driving and swerving and I finally come. I come. And then I'm vigorously masturbating. Come on the wheel and then I come on the dash and then I come on the floor and then I'm done. And I'm done. Again, I can't hear that without fucking stimming to that fucking song. I swear to God, it's real. If you guys don't know that it's real, I sound like a fucking... I sound like a weirdo. Starve it! Okay, that was actually surprisingly easy. Starbits, give them all. Oh my god, so many stars. Oh, holy shit! Is there a hungry Luma? Because there's a lot of Starbits they're giving you. Bye, loser. You can only move in 2 dimensions. I can move in all 3. Oh god. Land! Nope. I didn't land because I touched the fucking corner that doesn't have sticky on it. Like that. Man, I feel like a bad streamer because so many times I'm just singing music. I'm not talking about what's happening in the game. I feel like I suck. But it's like, what the fuck do you want me to say? Oh, I'm touching the honey. Oh, I'm climbing the honey. Sticky, icky, icky. I don't know. What the fuck? Climbing the sticky wall. Girl, just do you shut up. I know I should. I have these thoughts from time to time. You guys ready for peak? Everybody get your dance emotes ready. The song that got so overplayed, they put it in Mario Maker.
Yes.
Hello, Bunny. What do you want to tell me? Wait, did they call this thing Fluffy Fluff? Because that's a really cute name, by the way. Let go. Let's go. Or rather, let go. Starbits. Uh-oh. Okay, we're good. Fuck you for doing that. Ugh. No, you don't giggle at me. I giggle at you. Wee. Spinny. Do. Ow. Please kill. It's like, please give me a coin. Something give me a coin. I don't want to die. Oh god. That gives me a coin, right? Yes. Marissa, hi. How's it going? Whee! Where am I going? Oh, it does. Nice. Ow. No, the music's on. Hi, it's a cute little bunny. You catch me, boy? Hang on. Speaking of boy, hang on. If this thing wants to say boy, that's my boy. What? Hmm? Wee! Toggle glass. Oh my god, you want my glasses? Okay. Honestly, I like my glasses. That's some good boy. Honestly, I need to just record random model features and just put them on random words because I think it'd be funny. What the fuck? How do I win? Motherfucker's cheating! Also, I hate this fucking song. This song like triggers me, like in the sense of like it's a Pavlovian reaction to this fucking song pissing me off. Oh, you got me. Here, take this, boy. Don't expect to catch me so easy next time. I agree. What would you guys do if you caught me? Like if I was just chasing like you guys were chasing me like that bunny? Would you let me go if I offered you a star?
Oh, yeah.
45. Leave it up for 45. Also, if you heard at one point a song in the background that was Iron Mouse singing She Wolf by Shakira, which I never thought I'd hear her sing, because that song, honestly, if you've never heard She Wolf by Shakira, fuck, that song is good.
Yes.
I think it's the beat that catches me more than the actual like song, but like yeah, it's a good fucking song. Wait, what's what I gotta do? Dirty tricks of Major Burrow's dirty tricks. It's a poop joke. Starbits! Uh oh, I'm gonna fucking die. Nope, gravity got me. We're good. Wait, I remember this stage too. Did they reuse Gusty Garden Galaxy in Galaxy 2? I feel like they would have, just because it's obviously a popular stage. Or at least the song was. Where's the last one? There you are. I see you. Where's he at? There you are. It's really sad how I have to destroy this entire ecosystem to progress. But that's Mario, I guess. You guys might have run something. I actually missed an extra star in that section. I'll go grab it later. I remember this. I do remember this stage. They definitely reused it. God, I'm fucking hurting this worm by making him stretch beyond his limits into multiple apples. What the fuck? I got stuck in like the falling animation. There it is. You have glasses on? He kinda does. Extra health. I won't need it, but I might as well get it. Oh, ad break. I will let the ads roll. My YouTube verification went through finally. It's been months. What does that mean? I don't fucking know. This guy's so fluffy, by the way. Holy shit. Ow. That didn't fucking hit me, I swear to God. Need some blue verification. Yeah. Get fucked. He is so fluffy. Look at him. Also, aren't most moles blind? Or all moles blind? So how is he able to find me if he's blind? Before I move, by the way, not after I move. No! Ow, you fuck! Coin. Ow! He's stuck in the fucking thing. How does that not hit him? I'm so confused. I have to wait till he's a little closer, actually. There we go. Boy, and he's fucking dead. Look at that. The whites of his eyes are showing. He's fucking dead. I saved a bunny by killing a mole, which I think a mole is really good for a garden. Isn't it? Or is it bad? I don't remember. They do good with soil, but I think they're bad for crops specifically.
Oh, yeah.
We're going back because that exact stage I noticed an extra star. If you guys missed what I saw, just take a close look. It's the space before the apple. Starbits. After this planet, I believe. Okay, I have to pay very close attention to where my cursor's at because I need to do something. Got it. Do 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 do. We're about the starbits. Okay. Wait, did this take me back over there anyway? Am I dumb? I think I'm a little dumb. I'm gonna be an idiot. Anyway, I guess that was just for starbits. I thought it was something else. Okay, I guess we go back for the third one. We go back. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Dusty Guardians Gravity Scramble.
Yes.
God, this song really does get old real fast. Jesus Christ. It's good, don't get me wrong, but like, Jesus. No wonder people were tired of it and fucking when they got it added to Mario Maker. Ah! Oh my god, that's some range. That's like some Smash Brothers range there. The fuck? Go! Go, Mario, go! Kill everything! I know what I want. I know what I want. I know what I want. It's not these guys. It's the gold one. Got him. Oh, but do not die, Mario. Swear to God. Sweet, free star. I'm getting very sleepy very fast.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we'll try finishing it. Are we almost done with this galaxy or no? No, we just started. Maybe we'll finish up one more galaxy in this stage or in this hub, and then we'll finish up maybe. Go, go, go! Die, loser. Now kill everything for more star bits. Everything is for star bits. Everything is for the sweet, sweet starbits. Sweet, tasty starbits. Is this like a symbol, like an instrument? Coin! How the fuck? How the fuck? Ow. I'm stuck. I can't move. Hello, hello, Shibby. How's it going? How the fuck do I get this? This is Super Mario Galaxy. Yeah, can you believe they made a video game based off the hit movie Super Mario Galaxy? Limao, yes. Everything in this video game is a one-to-one representation of what's in the movie. It's really not, by the way, but I think it's funny if I just make that my stream title, because it makes people question either my sanity or the movie. But how are you doing, Shuvi? It's been a while. Just wait. Oh, I thought I got it. It was the coin. Starbits. Ooh, what does Philboard has to tell me? Hey, Mr. Phil. Danger. Watch your step. Thank you, Mr. Philboard. Sorry, Mr. Board. Dr. Board. Sorry, this billboard has a PhD. Mr. Philboard is his father. Dr. Philboard is who he is. This fucking billboard is way more successful than I am, by the way. It has a PhD, I don't. This stage is so unique. I like it. Oh, only one side has gravity. I can see that. Ugh. Mario took a hot load to the face right there. Of gunpowder, by the way. Don't be weird. Hey. Oh, has been a while. I'm doing pretty good. I didn't sleep well yesterday, so I'm really tired. I'm feeling a little sick. Like I might be getting sick, that kind of feeling, but I'm doing okay otherwise. I'm having fun here. Yeah, I might be finishing up soon just to get some extra rest so I don't actually end up sick. Daredevil comment is gonna be the boss. Oh, it's gonna be the boss, isn't it? Oh shit. It's probably gonna be, yeah. It's gotta be Major Burrow's Daredevil. Sure is. Anytime there's a boss, it has to be a Daredevil run. But if it's just the boss and not the stage leading up to the boss, we're good. I can do this. Because now I know how to deal with this motherfucker. Yes. Hey, dude. He's still so cute, so fluffy. Too bad I gotta kill him. Bye-bye. You know who he reminds me of, speaking of? That's why I'm thinking why he's so cute and fluffy. Fucking Lotso from Toy Story 3. That motherfucking bear. That bitch-ass bear that everybody hates. Bleed. Whoa, that reminded me of King Boom Boo from Sonic Adventure 2. We're playing a game of chicken. Bye-bye. Wish they would do this to Lotso in Toy Story 3. Oh, did you guys see the Toy Story 5 trailer? I think the only reason I saw it is because I think it was one of the trailers for the Mario movie. I forget what trailers they showed off at the Mario movie now that I think about it. One of them was a new Minions movie, if you believe it, because it's Illumination that does the Mario movie. Even though there was a 4, there was a 4. It is not very good to me. But there is a 5, which 5 is funny in the sense that like 4, there's already the new kid, right? Because at the end of 3, if you remember, spoilers for the end of 3, by the way, they have a new kid, right? Andy gives his toys away to some little girl named Bonnie, right? Okay, so in 4, it's just a story about Bonnie, right? In 5, it's the same story with Bonnie, but it's for the modern age. And what I mean by that is she becomes an iPad kid. And like the toys are like, what the fuck do we do? We're being replaced by this iPad, you know, not actually an iPad, but like that's like a leapfrog pad essentially. So like they're essentially trying to destroy the iPad from what I remember in the trailer. And the things just like won't fucking die. I forget what the actual plot of it is, but like it just starts with them trying to kill the iPad and the iPad just always coming back. And then I think they get like left behind when Bonnie's like on a trip or something. So then they try to sneak aboard to follow her, which is kind of creepy, but at the same time, like your toys you want to get played with, you don't want to get left behind when there's a trip. But it ends up being like a weird, from what I remember in the 5th one, it's gonna be like a really weird Woody versus Buzz again. But essentially somebody's just gonna be like, one of them is just like you know, go with the flow, change with the times, and then one of them obviously hates technology, hates kids, or the kid, you know, losing interest in toys. I forget which one, but it's one or the other, and Woody and Buzz are on opposite sides, so they're starting to hate each other. I don't think it's gonna be good. I just think it's funny that they're making the kid into an iPad kid. Dr. Fail, what do you got for me? The water here is cold, really cold. Seriously, if you fall in, it's gonna hurt. Ow. Does it hurt more or less than these Goombas that are trying to kill me because you're talking to me, motherfucker? Is this really so funny? I'm just saying random ass things. Whee! Ooh, Iron Mouse is singing Oops, I Did It Again. Hell yeah. To me, I mean, listen, I'm not saying it's you can't laugh because you think it's funny. I'm just saying random ass bullshit. I gotta go back. Fuck. Oh, they don't let you wall jump under. That makes sense because they don't want you to skip the gimmick of using the ice flower. I think there's a second star in this area too, actually. You can't jump high. You're fucking Chunky Kong. We got it. Where does this take me? Where the fuck does this take me? Give me the fire flower instead of the ice flower. It's a secret. Amazing job, oh thank you. This is the power-up I remember from Mario Galaxy 2. By the way, for those of you that might not have been here at the start, I never played the first one. Or, yeah, I never played the first Mario, only the second one. Surprisingly. I mean, the Mario Galaxy, I mean. Ow. Which, again, I think is still a very foreign concept. Like, how the fuck do you play the second one, but not the first one? Got him. More. I will wait because I'm assuming I made the fire flower again. No, I don't. They give me one up here. Ah! Oh my god, they fucking killed me. Oh, there's gotta be a checkpoint here, please. Okay, thank fuck. I was gonna be so scared. Go, go, go! Oh god. was a skill issue. I had my joystick at the wrong angle and I just jumped the fucking stage. Oh god, oh god. Yo, speedrun skip. I gotta do it again now. Wait. Oh, is this slanted so I can't do that? Never mind. Suck it. Oh, I still need the fire flower. But oh wait. I could have done that anyway. That's fine. Oh, just don't die, Mario. Really, Mario? Fucking plumber. There we go. I love finding little skips like that. I can't. I've ran out of fireballs. I'm dead. Oh my god, that's kind of creepy. Checkpoint above that, please, please. No. Well, the good thing is now I know how to skip these. I need to be closer. There we go. It's so cool you can just do that. And that was a lot easier than even the game itself made it out to be. Bye. Conquering the summit. It's a hidden star. That wasn't the star I was going for, by the way. Jesus, that one took so long. It was only 1 in 4. Plus probably a comet star in here. A frozen peak of barren. You know what I want, chap? I want a burger. I'm just craving a burger. Ow. Shortcut. God, I gotta do all this again. Boo doo boo doo boo doo. Yo. I have to kill them. Follow me then. Oh, it's this, I think. Yes. I think there's another secret star over there that I just saw. Brother Mario, you fucking plumber! I saw this over here, so I want to go look at it. What is this? Oh, it's just a slide. With the free health upgrade. Oh, whatever. Oh, I missed everything. Jesus Christ. Do, 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 do. Oh. 1, 2, towee. Do 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 do. More ice flower up. Oh, that was sick. Oh, that block's going in and out of the square hole. I recently saw that the in the square hole thing is like I think 5, maybe 6 years old now, right? Or is it 4? Might be 4. Which I think is kind of crazy, thinking about it. Like, just a meme is just insane that it's just that old now. And the person who made the meme was like, because people were like posting it without context, were like, hi, that's me, thanks for crediting, fuckers. Kill him. Kill him. Kill this thing, whatever it is. Oh, bad break. Bye-bye. Bye. We did it. That was a long boss fight. I don't know why. 1700 star bits. Wonder how much the next one's gonna need, because I think the last one was like 600, so this one the next one must be 800 if it's a natural progression amount. Next is Freeze Flames, Blistering Core. Oh, I know this stage now. It's the stage that has Freeze and Flame. Isn't that crazy? Can you believe it? The name tells you what the stage is about. Oh, you bitch. Fuck you. Oh, Starbits. Tasty Starbits. I'm just like a hungry Luma. Like, you. Yeah, you. Got any more Starbits? Bye. Polestar. I was like, what the fuck is the Polestar for? Whee! Into the core. Doesn't this look like kind of tasty? It's lava, but it looks kind of tasty from far away. I need a fire flower. Double tap. Don't fall. Oh, okay. Ah, he fell, loser. I feel like this stage is gonna have like a cosmic speedster, not speedster. The Marios that chase you. Oh my god! Where the fuck did he come from? Did anybody get the license plate number of that car that just drove by? Fucker caused some damage. How did that miss? Jank as hell, I'll say that much. Go up. Go up. Later, taters. Not you. It's on site for you, buddy. He started killing me. Why am I going in circles? I don't know what the fuck was going on there. Nice shot. Now I want to play Mario Golf. Mario Golf 64 specifically. Where he goes, nice shot. Also, the fact that there's two non-Mario characters in that game that I don't know where they're from. I might have to Google that. Like, where the fuck do these characters come from? They're just humans in the original Mario Golf. And I don't know who the fuck they are. Like, are they some developers OC that they just wanted to put in the Mario universe? Oh god, go back. Oh. I hit it. Oh, I almost hit that one. You shoot from here. Sure, sure fucking can't. I was gonna say sure can. The answer is no, I cannot. Nice shot, me. It really sucks how like power-ups in 3D Mario games are kind of just seen as like extensions rather than like actual power-ups like they are in 2D Marios. Cosmic Comet in orbit. This is the one I was thinking of. It was Cosmic Comet. That is what it's called. First, the Cosmic Mario Race. This stage looks cool. It's a race too. Oh, I think this is the song that got copyright claimed in my fucking stream VOD last week that I played this game. Like, how the fuck do they claim this, bro? It's a fucking Nintendo song. Fucking assholes. I could probably skip over there, but I don't want to risk it. Also, is it cool or not that when Mario's doing this ice skating, he looks like Shadow the Hedgehog? Easy freaking peasy, motherfucker. Not cool to you? Because now you can't picture his Shadow doing anything but ice skating. Last star in this galaxy that we finish up for the night, I think. Bye. What's it called? Hot and Cold Collide. Ooh, this stage is cool. Sorry, this stage is hot. Sorry, this stage is cool. Sorry, this stage is hot. You guys get the joke I made? Hee hee. Sea urchins! Secret cave. Life. What's over here? Nothing good? Not really is the answer. Oh god. Mario, please jump. Thank you. Also, is there no firefly around here? Oh, maybe up there? Can I do this? Maybe not? Question mark? Sure fucking can. I'm goated. It's just fucking star bits. Worthless. Oh, that was a cool long jump. Fireflower. Oh, is this? I'm just gonna come back with it, aren't I? Starbits. More tasty, tasty Starbits. Can't see. Get away. Ah! Starbits. It's right there, but I can't go in. Loser, you fell. Ah! Oh, he fucking pushed me to it. Uh-oh. That's fine. That's okay. What's okay? Fucking Starbits. The fuck cares? They're tasty, but who cares? Go, 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 go. Goodbye. Whee. Oh, it's this stage, but fire and ice. Listen, this is cool and all, but let me be honest. Banjo-Tooie did it first. Actually, I guess Banjo-Tooie didn't do the combined. How the fuck? Depth perception is that bad, I guess. Checkpoint. Oh, you can't just go faster if you wanted to. Okay. Oh my god, I couldn't fucking see. Mario, don't you fucking dare jump off. Oh my god, I was off the edge. I think this is the last star for today. Let's see if this galaxy's done. It won't say done because I think there's like bonus stars. Right, let me double check. Yeah, there's probably a Luigi star in here that I gotta look for. Save and quit the game. Just to make sure that I actually fucking saved. You are Mr. Yay. 54. All good. Okay, let us go back over here. Let me put my music on for a second. Alrighty. we shall be done for today. Oh, sorry, it's a tiny bit earlier than usual. I want to make sure I get plenty of rest. Thanks for the stream. Yeah, thank you guys for being here. So tomorrow we are going to be playing Donkey Kong 64. There is a very good chance, if I'm not sick, that tomorrow is the finale of Donkey Kong 64, because all I have left is Hideout Helm, which is where the final boss is at. So don't miss it if you want to see the end of the game. Yeah. And for those of you that want to see a preview of my new outfit that's coming soon, because I'm getting previews about it, I'll think of something for you guys. But I don't know what I'm gonna do. Besides that, yeah, thank you guys for being here. I'm gonna go get some rest. Probably I might even sleep a little bit earlier than usual. But I'll catch you guys tomorrow for Donkey Kong, okay? You guys have a good night, and thanks for being here. Bye.
Thank you.